It's the 20-minute morning show for Monday, April 29th. It's alleged that Rhianna's boyfriend, who is a Muslim, is forbidding that Rhianna stop wearing sexy clothes. And he said he wants to make her presentable as a Muslim bride. And hey, man, you can't be wearing all that stuff over there in the Muslim world like that. You be dressing all like you ain't got no sense.
Well, this is my thing. First, why is a devout Muslim checking for Rhianna anyway? Because Rhianna busted open.
And that's a good question. You know what I'm saying? You can't tame no woman like that. There's just no way.
Well, that's kind of hypocritical, because if this is how she got her fame, this is how she travels the world, more than likely, this is how he met her, to all of a sudden come in and say, oh, you got to change all of this. I don't know. That's a little hypocritical to me.
And it is. It is, because if you are seeking a woman outside of your culture like that, and Rhianna wears sexy wear, she gyrates, she does all this lesbian simulation on stage, and that's how she makes her money, and you want to go and change her. She could only maybe change for a little while, but I understand that she's even started to change what she wears, Sean.
Yeah, allegedly, that's what they're saying, that she's starting to dress down. To me, it's like he should have been attracted to Ilhan Omar, not Rhianna.
Yeah, because, I hate to say it like this, but it goes back to that old saying almost, and I'm not calling her a hoe, but you can't take a hoe and make her a housewife. And the way she kind of puts it out there, it's like you can't take this woman who was very sexual and try to put her in a very conservative Muslim thing right away and say, it's what you got to do,
Right, but just because Rhianna embraces her sexuality, that doesn't mean she's a whore. But my thing is, he shouldn't have been checking for her in the first place, like I said in the beginning. And my thing is, why is it that the woman always has to change her attire? Why does the woman always have to be the one covered up?
Well, why wouldn't a woman want to be covered up? Why would I want my woman to walk around showing her breasts, showing her backside to everybody on the street when she belonged to me?
Why does she have to cover up? Why does she have to wear baggy clothes? Why does she can't embrace her curves?
I mean, yeah, in the
but
house.
I guess so.
In the house.
I guess so. In proper Muslim culture, men don't wear things of that either. They're pretty much covered up. The difference being, the hijab that the women put over their head. Men don't do that, but they generally do wear some type of covering over their head. So if he's a devout Muslim, although he might ask her to cover up, in true fashion, he would be covered as well.
Well, he's not covered. That's just like Janet Jackson's boyfriend, husband. He wasn't covered. The men dressed up like George Papadopoulos. I don't understand why the women have to be so conservative all the time. I don't get that.
Well, it's called modesty.
Well,
modesty
right.
is what we need. Modest women, just like the mother of Jesus,
and men.
Mary. Yeah, and modest men.
Wait a minute, but let's not. And I see what Sean is saying, but let's be honest. We talk about the modesty of women, but what about the modesty of men? If you're going to require your a companion, if she's a female, to be so modest, and you're walking around in shorts, you're a hypocrite. Like I said, in most Islamic cultures, the men, they are just as covered as women. So to him, if he's walking around in these, tight shorts and all that, and you got her totally covered up, man, you're a hypocrite. You're not even following your own Quran, and the dress and the habits of men. It don't only tell a woman to have a modest dress, but it also talks to the man as well.
But even outside of the Muslim culture, any man that's a real decent man, why would you want your woman showing all of her body to the world when she belonged to you? What is she getting out of showing off her curves to the world when she belonged to me? That doesn't make any sense.
Well, let me ask you a question. And then, being a Muslim man and your woman's covered up, could you walk around and play basketball or anything with your chest exposed?
No. It should be the same thing in the Christian household.
I agree with you. Yeah. I very much agree with you. And if you ever look at the more conservative Christians, you don't see men running around with everything out and exposed and tight jeans trying to show off curvation of their genitalia or anything. So I think that's true across the board. But back to the point, if he's going to require that of her, he should require that of himself.
This is what I'll say. Rhianna has enough money not to change for a man.
But she wants a man, and so she's conforming to what her man wants.
She has enough money not to change.
What's that got to do with anything? Money doesn't have anything to do with love. That's her. She's playing her natural role. Rihanna's playing her natural role. She knows.
Once again, she has enough money not to change for a man.
But maybe it's not about the money. You know, a lot of people have enough money to take care of themselves, and I think that's the misnomer. Why, if only reason you're getting with someone is because they can give you financial stability, I think in this modern day and age, that's kind of a lost thing. Maybe
no, that's not a lost thing, because guess what? For a billionaire, I'll dress up like Xena the Warrior, broke as I am. She has enough money not to change for a man.
Okay, and my point being this.
That's a rich man come to me and say, Sean, change, we're going to make some changes.
All right, but here's my point. I understand where you're coming from, but I do believe there are women out there that the money is not the factor. Yes, she can take care of herself, but if this man requires that and she's willing to do that, it has nothing to do with the money.
Yep.
Rihanna, you better call Janet Jackson and tell that brother you a Baptist.
This is UIN, Urban Internet News Uncut. I'm Alexander Caden. All the Democrats running for president favor reform to expand the right to vote, but the candidates are divided on whether people who are in prison should be able to vote. The 14th Amendment gives states the authority to strip voting rights from people who commit crimes. Maine and Vermont are the only two states that allow people to vote if they're in prison, while Iowa, Kentucky, and Virginia still permanently ban felons from voting even after they've served their time. 23 states have changed their policies dealing with the right to vote for felons, extending the right to an estimated 1.4 million people who have served their time. Federal agents raided Baltimore Mayor Catherine Poo's home, part of City Hall, and another location. She's under investigation for alleged self-dealing in connection with hundreds of thousands of dollars in payments for a self-published children's book from private companies that were subject to her influence. Wow, federal agents raided the mayor's office? Me Too creator Tarana Burke wants the current movement to be more inclusive to people of all genders. Burke, who created the movement over a decade ago, also explained that Me Too can only be successful if we as a culture examine everyone's learned behavior, and that includes men.
Men should be upset about the way they're painted, right? Me Too is not a woman's movement. Yes, it was women that came forward and talked about it. Yes, it was about women in Hollywood initially coming forward. But men's first role in this movement is as survivors.
In reality, she said, we have to examine all of our behavior, and added, it's gonna be uncomfortable. A black St. Louis teacher has been accused of molesting a student in his classroom and then hiring a hitman to kill the boy and his family. Deontay Taylor, who is 36, and his boyfriend Michael Johnson, who's 66, both pleaded not guilty to a multitude of charges. In 2015, while Taylor, who is HIV positive, was working at an elementary school, he molested a 7-year-old student. Charges were filed in 2018 when his DNA matched samples found on the former student. Months later, while he was awaiting trial from behind bars, police say him and his boyfriend attempted to hire a hitman to kill the boy, who is now 10 years old, along with his family. He faces felony sodomy charges, and both him and his boyfriend reportedly face conspiracy to commit murder and witness tampering charges. And I'm pretty sure once he's in prison, he's gonna become somebody's boyfriend. Former Florida Democratic gubernatorial candidate Andrew Gillum agreed to pay a $5,000 fine in a settlement reached with the State Ethics Commission attorney, who agreed to drop 4 or 5 charges of ethics violations related to trips he took to Costa Rica and New York. In January, the Ethics Commission found probable cause that Gillum, as Tallahassee mayor, violated state ethic laws for allegedly accepting gifts from a Tallahassee entrepreneur and from undercover FBI agents posing as developers. Gillum accepted gifts with a value of more than $100 from a lobbyist or vendor of the city and failed to report the gifts. And now I got to tell you this story about a person of color who committed a crime and got away with it. There was a guy, he robbed a store. He ran into the woods. A police canine unit came. The police officer let the dog go. The dog ran into the woods after the man. But then the dog ran into a porcupine.
Oh, hell no!
Oh, hell yeah. The dog and the porcupine got into it, and the dog was pierced by more than 200 quills. The pursuit was immediately suspended and the dog was rushed to an animal hospital where he was sedated and treated for more than 2 hours. And like I said, the guy that robbed the store, well, they're still looking for him. For more news and information for and about people of color, visit our website at uinews.net. You've been listening to UIN, Urban Internet News Uncut, on the BJ Murphy 20-Minute Morning Show. I'm Alexander Caden.
Okay!
Hey, thank y'all for listening to the 20-Minute Morning Show, a product of Inside Urban Media and written and produced by BJ Murphy from our studios in Charlotte, North Carolina. You can like us on Facebook or Instagram at 20-Minute Morning Show. Please subscribe to the show and you'll get it in your inbox as soon as we publish it at 6 a.m. weekday mornings. We also want you to use the share button and repost on your social media and listen to the 20-Minute Morning Show on Apple, iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, and anywhere where podcasts are distributed. Thanks to our daily contributors on the show, Sean, Sunday, and AK with the UIN Uncut News team. Also, Hadia, Kendra, and all the other behind-the-scenes people that work to make the 20-Minute Morning Show what it is. Thank y'all so much for listening, and we'll check you out tomorrow morning for another episode.